Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be creating a fun Halloween project. Well, not one, but two actually. Initially, I thought I would just have one shaker card, but then, well, as I went on going with this project, I thought why not use the leftovers from the shaker card to make an absolutely new card. Now, here's the products that I've used to create these cards. These are by Kat Scrappiness, the latest Halloween release. Now, this is a two-part release, one for the Halloween projects, and the next would be for your fall projects. I have used the Shake Your Candy Corn Shaker die, and this is the beautiful sentiment die. It's the Simple Sentiment stamp set, the Halloween edition by Kat Scrappiness. Now, Kat Scrappiness also has this in two other categories. One, we have All Occasion stamp set, and then we have another one which is the Valentine's edition. And all of these coordinate perfectly with the Simple Sentiments die. So all you need is one die set and a bunch of these sentiment stamps, and you're good to go. You could have your everyday sentiments, Valentine's, Halloween, and there's also something fun coming up for Christmas. So stay tuned for that. Now here we have 24 sentiments, each designed in a fun, creepy font, perfect for your Halloween projects. Now, all of these sentiments are approximately 3 by 8 inches high and vary in length, and these would be perfect for your spooky creations. Now, let's get started with our focal point. I'm using the Shake Your Candy Corn Shaker die here. Now, this is a two-piece die where this piece creates the window or the shaker piece, and there's another piece that creates the base of your shaker candy corn. Now here you see I have my window, and that was what I was planning to use on my card number one. But the negative pieces here that I will be using for card number two. This is the base of our shaker. So here I have all the parts ready for creating focal points for two of my cards. Now, usually when I'm creating shaker cards, I like to add dimension using multiple die cuts of the same shaker window. So here you'll see I die cut the shaker window almost I think 5 or 6 times. I don't remember. But yeah, if you prefer having foam tapes, absolutely perfect. But I like to add dimension using these die cut pieces itself. I like to use my liquid glue. Here I'm using the Barely Art glue to adhere all of these pieces together. Now I like using liquid glue because that I feel gives some wiggle room. So just in case the positioning is not perfect enough, I still have room to wiggle around the pieces and align them properly. I also cut out a piece of acetate using the same base die, and that would be sandwiched between this shaker window and the topmost layer of our candy corn. This acetate sheet matches perfectly with our shaker window. Now here's the top layer of our shaker, and this will be aligning perfectly on the base layer. Now I wanted to add some color to these layers. Since I'm not using any of those negative pieces, I decided to directly add color on this base layer. I like to hold my die cut pieces on a sticky mat whenever I'm ink blending. That gives a lot of control over the ink blending and also make sure that my pieces are not moving, especially when the die cuts have these intricate lines and details on them. I'm using the Simon Says Damn Positively Saturated inks in the shade Citrine and Sherbet. I love this bright orange and yellow color. Now between this ink blending, I like to bring in my base piece just to match the coloring. I don't want a lot of difference between the base layer and the top of our candy corn. Now once I was done with the ink blending, I went ahead and adhered the window piece, the one with the dimension, and here I am adhering the acetate sheet on the topmost layer which has been ink blended. Now I will let the glue completely dry before I add any of those shaker bits. Now while the glue is drying, I decided to go through my stash of these beautiful sequences by Kat Scrappiness. Now just as I matched the ink blending on the topmost layer and the base layer, I decided to add the sprinkle or the sequin mixes also according to the colors. So for the yellow, I have brilliant sunshine confetti dot sequins and yellow confetti sprinkles. For the orange, I have Tangerine Dream solid round confetti sequins, which is again a new addition to the Kat Scrappiness store, part of this latest release. For the white, I have white AB solid round confetti sequins, and I absolutely love how shiny and sparkly this turned out. I first made sure that all of these shaker bits are flat on the base before adhering the topmost layer. Now I will let this layer completely dry before even trying to shake the shaker element. Now while that dries, let's work on our card background. I'm using the same yellows and oranges to create my card background here. I added some black watercolor splatters on this panel. I didn't want to keep a lot of splatter and overshadow our shaker elements, so just a tiny bit of splatters is all that's enough. Now once the panel is completely dry, it's time to assemble the card front. Again, using liquid glue, I adhered this candy corn onto our panel. I use the Happy Halloween sentiment from the Simple Sentiment stamp set, the Halloween edition stamp set, and I adhered it on the center of this candy corn and added some shine and sparkle using my Spectrum Noir glitter brush pen. And I absolutely love how this card turned out. Now, since there's already a lot of dimension on our card with a focal point, I use some double-sided tape to adhere this panel onto a side-folding orange note card, which I thought was absolutely perfect with the theme of this yellow and orange candy corn card. Moving on to card number two. Now here we will be using all of those negative leftover pieces from card number one. Now again, just like we did for card number one, where for dimension, I stacked up all of those die cut pieces. Again, here I stacked up all these pieces and ink blended using the same yellows and oranges. Now this will be the focal point of card number two. Now I'll be creating the focal point something similar to card number one. For my greetings, I have the ghostly trick or treat sentiment die that features the word trick or treat in a creepy font, along with an adorable spooky ghost friend. It also comes in a shadow layer, so I cut the trick or treat using black cardstock and I have my little ghost using white. But I did add some pop of color on the base of that ghost. Now I'm sticking this onto a panel that I have splattered ink on. I used the same yellow and orange and also some black splatters. Since I used vellum to create my shadow layer for my sentiment, I had to be really careful while adding the liquid glue. That's the reason I added my sentiment first before adhering the focal point of our card. Now, when I cut out the trick or treat sentiment, I also had a black ghost that I decided to add onto my first card. Now that my focal point and the sentiment is adhered here, it was time to add some bling. I used the same Tangerine Dream solid round confetti sequin to embellish the card front and adhered it onto the same orange color note card. Here's a look at both the cards that we created today. Well, I had initially planned of creating just one shaker card, but I was absolutely in love with how this candy corn looks and the size of it, and so I decided to use a negative piece to create the second card. I love all of those shaker bits in that first card, and card number two is absolutely perfect as well. Now, all the supplies that I've used for these cards today will be linked down in the description box below. All of these links are affiliate links, which means that when you shop using my link, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. That really helps my channel. Well, thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe and happy Halloween.